I never thought I would be the kind of person whose life would be split into a before and an after. That always sounded dramatic to me, like something people say when they want attention. But the truth is, betrayal doesn't announce itself loudly, it doesn't kick the door open. It walks in quietly, sits down next to you, and smiles like it belongs there. I had been married for 11 years. Not a perfect marriage, but a real one. We had routines, inside jokes, arguments that repeated themselves, and silences that didn't feel dangerous. Or at least I thought they were. If you had asked me back then whether I trusted my partner, I would have said yes without hesitation. Not because I was naive, but because nothing in my life had given me a reason not to. The first crack didn't look like betrayal. It looked like distance. Late nights at work. Phone always face down. Short answers to long questions. At first I blamed myself. I told myself this is what long relationships turn into. People get tired. Passion fades. Life becomes practical. That's what everyone says, right? There was one night I remember clearly. We were sitting on the couch, watching a show neither of us was really watching. I asked a simple question, something unimportant. And the answer came late, too late, like it had to travel through someone else first. I noticed it, but I didn't say anything. That's the strange thing about betrayal. Your mind sees the signs before your heart is ready to accept them. Weeks passed, then months, and slowly I started to feel like a guest in my own relationship. Not unwanted, just unnecessary. One morning I picked up the phone by accident. It was charging, vibrating slightly from a notification. I didn't open it right away. Because some part of me already knew that once I did, there would be no going back. The message wasn't explicit. No photos. No "I love you." Just familiarity. Inside jokes I didn't recognize. A tone I hadn't heard in years. Comfort, intimacy. The kind that doesn't belong between strangers. I remember my hands shaking, not from anger but from clarity. Because in that moment, every small doubt suddenly lined up perfectly. When I confronted them, there was no dramatic confession. No tears at first. Just denial. Then excuses. Then silence. And finally the truth. It had been going on for almost a year. A year of shared meals. A year of "I'm just tired." A year of lying next to someone who was already somewhere else. I wish I could say I screamed. Or cried uncontrollably. Or walked out immediately. But I didn't. I felt empty. Like someone had quietly removed a part of my life while I wasn't looking. People think betrayal is about anger. But the real pain is humiliation. Realizing that your reality was edited without your permission. We tried to talk. To explain. To understand. They said it didn't mean anything. That it just happened. That they never planned for it to go this far. But that's the thing. Nothing just happens for a year. Trust doesn't break in one moment. It erodes. Slowly. Every time someone chooses secrecy over honesty. In the weeks that followed, I replayed our entire relationship in my head. Looking for the exact moment I should have known. The exact decision I should have made differently. But betrayal doesn't mean you failed. It means someone else made choices you weren't part of. Eventually we separated. Not explosively. Quietly. Like two people leaving a building that's already burning. The hardest part wasn't losing them. It was losing the version of my life I believed in. Because when someone cheats, they don't just betray you. They rewrite your past. And that takes time to forgive. Even if you never forgive them. At first, being alone felt temporary. Like something that would pass once the shock wore off. I told myself this was just a phase. That one day I would wake up and everything would make sense again. But mornings became the hardest part. There was no sound of another person moving through the apartment. No shared silence. No familiar presence that made loneliness feel less sharp. Instead, there was space. Too much space. Friends tried to help in the only way they knew how. They said things like, "At least you found out," or "You deserve better," or "Everything happens for a reason." I nodded. I smiled. I thanked them. But inside, none of it mattered. Because knowing the truth doesn't immediately make it easier to live with it. Some nights I replayed conversations we had years ago. Moments where I felt close. Moments where I felt safe. And I wondered if those moments were real, or if they had already started drifting away even then. That's the cruelest part of betrayal. It doesn't stay in the present. It travels backward. It poisons memories that were once comforting. I tried not to think about the other person, but my mind kept creating them anyway. Who were they? What did they have that I did? Did they know about me from the beginning, or was I just an inconvenient detail? These questions don't come from jealousy. They come from a need to understand where you were replaced. Weeks turned into months. And slowly, something unexpected happened. The anger faded. Not because what happened was acceptable, but because anger takes energy and I didn't have any left. What replaced it was something quieter. Grief. Grief for a life that no longer existed. Grief for a future that had been planned without knowing it would never arrive. I realized I wasn't mourning the person who betrayed me. I was mourning the version of them I believed in. One evening months later, we met again. Not to reconcile. Not to argue. Just to talk. They looked different. Not physically, but emotionally. Less confident. Less certain. They told me the relationship they destroyed ours for didn't last. That it fell apart under the weight of secrecy and guilt. I listened without satisfaction. Because their regret didn't rebuild what was lost. They asked if I hated them. I told them the truth. No. Hate requires attachment. And that attachment was gone. Walking away that night felt final in a way nothing else had before. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just honest. In the months that followed, I started rebuilding my life in small ways. Not the kind you post online. The kind nobody sees. Learning how to be alone without feeling abandoned. Learning how to trust my own judgment again. Learning that someone else's betrayal is not a reflection of my worth. I noticed something strange. The more distance I gained, the clearer everything became. I could see how many times I ignored my intuition. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted the story to stay intact. We don't ignore red flags because we're stupid. We ignore them because we're invested. And love makes us generous with our doubt. Eventually, I met someone new. Not right away. Not recklessly. Slowly. With caution. With honesty. And for the first time, trust didn't feel like blindness. It felt like choice. I chose to believe again. Not because I forgot the pain, but because I learned from it. Betrayal doesn't end you. It changes the way you understand connection. It teaches you that love is not proven by words, but by consistency. Not by promises, but by presence. Sometimes people ask me if I would undo everything if I could. If I could go back and prevent it. And the truth is complicated. I wouldn't wish the pain on anyone. But I wouldn't trade the clarity either. Because losing a false sense of security forced me to build a real one. Not based on another person, but on myself. And that changed everything.